Even though there isn't high expectations this upcoming season, unfortunately, is it better for the team to lose more games than win? We'll explain next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is going up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Wizards, where myself, Abdullah Ayubi, co-host and diehard Wizards fan that provides hometown insights and passion for his beloved Wizards, talk about the Wizards potentially needing to lose more this upcoming season and how it could affect the 2026 NBA draft for our Wiz. And I am here with the great Ben Strober, producer with DC Sports Talk Stations 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. Thanks for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And remember, Locked On Wizards is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Wizards, where the best way to help us grow is to comment anything below. And today's question is, do you think it's necessary that the Wizards should lose more this upcoming season just so they can secure that top 8 pick potentially? Or if it falls out of the top 8, New York will get it. So is there a cause of concern of wanting to lose more this upcoming season? Let us know. Comment down below. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet hit wins. Ben, let's talk about it. You brought up this topic, and I love this topic. The trade and all. A lot of fans don't know that if the pick this upcoming year falls out of the top 8, it goes to New York. So take it away.
Yeah, so this is really the final domino that falls in what was a crazy trade almost 5 years ago when John Wall, our beloved John Wall, is sent to Houston. In exchange, Russell Westbrook comes over. But one of those last pieces, part of that trade that is finally falling here, that puts the Wizards in a bit of a quagmire here at this point, is the fact that if they do not have a top 8 pick next year that is not protected, New York would receive that first round pick. I think there's a couple ways to look at it, though, because the Wizards also do have a 2026 pick swap with Phoenix, which I think could very much work out in its favor. That's something that we can get into a little bit more. However, if you are the Wizards and you are focused on development and building your young core, I mean, we spent the entire episode yesterday talking about Jordan Poole and the potential of him being traded. We'll talk a little bit more about it in the last segment for this episode today. And a lot of you guys in the comments, this is such a polarizing topic, and I love to see how passionate people were about this situation. There were a lot of you that are like us saying we want to keep the Poole party going, and there's a lot of people that are on the side of, we need to move on from Jordan Poole. We need to continue to build what we have. He doesn't fit the long-term plans, and I totally understand those points. I think those are really fair arguments to make, and with all this being said about a top 8 protected pick, I think what we're seeing from this Washington team, especially if Jordan Poole does get dealt around draft day or draft night, that there is a commitment to trying to build long-term. And if you're the Wizards front office at this point, I mean, the expectations are not going to be high for this team next year, even depending on who they add with the 6th and the 18th pick and the 40th pick as well. They're not going to be expected to be a very good team. I think they're going to be better than last year because you're going to have the young talent that this team has develop and play better in year number 2 than they did in year number 1. I don't think it's going to be enough to get them over the hump, especially not in the Eastern Conference at this point. However, if you're the Wizards, you're essentially incentivized a little bit to lose right here. If you finish in the bottom 4 in the NBA, that guarantees you a top 8 pick. That means the Wizards would have that top 8 protected pick at this point, but I don't know. It's really going to depend on how confident the front office is going to be and who they have on the roster. If they feel like the current roster they have in place is good enough at that point, which they're not going to be good enough next year to win a ton of games, but if they feel like they are good enough to be developed and some other pieces can be added in free agency or that pick swap that comes into play from Phoenix, maybe that goes out the window and the Wizards won't be as incentivized to win. But, we're not the general manager. We're not Will Dawkins here, and the Wizards never admit to tanking. We've seen that already from Ted Leonsis in here. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I think it might be in the best interest that the Wizards do retain that pick, even as just Arsenal, if they don't even need it.
Yeah, definitely brought up a lot of great points, and I agree with you. I think one thing for sure, I put out a short earlier talking about how if the Wizards did keep Jordan Poole, I think at most, and a lot of things have to go right, this team wins 30 games this upcoming season. I think without him, 22 to 23, the mark for me is 25, and that benchmark sits well, going from 15 to 18, 25. It's improvement. But also one thing you have to consider, a big reason why you want that high pick in the 2026 NBA draft is the amount of talent in that draft. We talked about 2025 with Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, Trey Johnson, Dylan Harper. The list goes on and on. 2026, you got AG DeBonza, who, I mean, is a future superstar. He has all the intangibles. Darren Peterson, lights out point guard. Nate Ahmed, the Boozer twins. There's so much talent in the 2026 draft. Elijah Arenas hopefully comes back from that car crash accident. There's so many things, so much talent in this upcoming draft where you can't, especially in a Wizards team where you're trying to get as much talent as you can. It's going to be hard to build that championship team if you miss out on any of those guys. So if you're the Wizards, I still think they're going to be able to finish bottom 4, bottom 5. I think they'll get that hopefully top 8 pick. I mean, again, you get the 6th pick this upcoming year. It's frustrating. It really is, but you just don't, especially in a team in New York who you're going to be competing against for years to come, and they have a good team that built around him with Jalen Brunson. I know they fired Coach Thibodeau, but they still have Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, and have a lot of young talent there. So if you're the Wizards, there's got to be a lot of incentives to make sure. I don't even want to say tank because obviously in today's NBA, Adam Silver doesn't want a team to admit that they're tanking, and we clearly saw that from Ted Leonsis. But you want to realize that it's better for the future to not win as many games. Obviously win games, but realize that top 8, if we only have that top 8 pick, first round pick, especially in a loaded draft class, it could come back to haunt us.
Look, this team hasn't been to the postseason since 2021. And
we were in high school, Ben.
I was a senior in high school, and I've just graduated college. So they went the entirety of us being in college without them making a postseason whatsoever. And they were in the play-in tournament in 2021. So it's not like they were realistically competing. They haven't realistically been a competitive team in now 8 years, which it's insane to think about how long it's really been. It's going to be a decade by the time the Wizards maybe are even close to being a playoff team again, given the way the timeline looks right now. But I wanted to bring up the comments that Will Dawkins made at his end-of-year session where he addressed the media. He said, well, they understand that they're not close, but they are closer. And he continued to preach how there's going to be a lot of patience that comes forth. And after his second season, he said he wants the Wizards to be a team that advances to the playoffs and stays there for multiple seasons rather being one that's bouncing in and out. Maybe one year you're an 8 seed, the next year you have a down year, someone gets hurt, then you're an 11 seed and you're missing out on the play-in tournament completely. He said he wants to build a team that by the time it's ready to compete, they're going to be in the top 3 to 5 in the Eastern Conference year in, year out, be competing for a chance at the NBA Finals every year. So it wouldn't be surprising to see the team's record look maybe a lot similar to 18-64, because you have to remember the Wizards were on pace at one point last year to have an even worse record than that. I think the solid basketball that they played down the stretch, especially in the second half, helped them save face a little bit. They win on a buzzer beater in the final game from Bub Carrington, who played in all 82 games as a rookie. And they didn't even have most of their guys playing in that game. I mean, it was clearly a classic tank job at that point. Bilal was injured, but he was pretty much sitting out at that point. I don't think his injury was really so bad where he needed to be out for the rest of the year. I just think, it was more of a precautionary thing at that point. Obviously, Poole wasn't playing in that game, and it was all just young kids playing in that game, and the Wizards found a way to get it done and win in Miami on a buzzer beater. But, that's kind of the moral of the story here with this Wizards team, is that they honestly, even though it's just 18 wins, which is nothing, it's almost, if you're a serious team and you're not in a rebuild stage, it's pathetic almost. They kind of overachieved in a way, especially down the stretch. But that's, it was a good thing. I was happy to see guys developing. I was happy to see the young kids getting better because I knew the Wizards were still going to be ultimately in a position to try to land the first pick. And of course, that didn't even happen. But, the Wizards did their best to try. You can't blame them for the lottery sucking the way it does. The lottery is just flawed. The lottery is such a flawed system. And that's why if you're a Wizards fan right now, you think, I'm not doing this again. I don't even care. Why should we ever tank again? Like, clearly the lottery's rigged or something. And I'm not even saying that because, the lottery being rigged is such a big discussion. It's flawed. Why does the team that finished with the second worst record in all of basketball have higher odds of picking 6 than it does anywhere else. I just don't think that makes any sense. That's where the fault is in the NBA lottery system. So I can totally understand why there's going to be a ton of Wizards fans probably in the comments of this video saying, why are we doing this again? Like, we already proved that tanking doesn't work, that we can't get rewarded with a good pick.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, I have to agree with you. But it's kind of interesting because last year when we got the second overall pick, it didn't really hit hard that much because, again, all
weaker
that
class.
Weaker draft. Like, imagine if you hit second overall this year. Like, it would have been a lot more like, hey, we got Dylan Harper, man.
Yeah, you get your point guard right there.
You get your point guard right there, and now you really have to deal Jordan Poole. I mean, it would have made the decision harder to deal Jordan Poole or draft the guard at 2 and Dylan Harper, but it is what it is. The Wizards, next upcoming year, if you lose more games, obviously you want to see improvement in the win column, but also realize that you want to keep that top 8 pick because, like I mentioned, there is a lot of talent going into the 2026 NBA draft. And talking about talent, we're going to talk about big threes in the NBA and how they are currently overrated. But before we do, quick word from OLIPOP. OLIPOP is a kind of soda made for people who love the classic taste of soda, but want something that supports their health. With just 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can, OLIPOP is reimagining soda in a way that's better for your gut. Traditional sodas are loaded with sugar, and trust me, I was a big Pepsi fan growing up, but it has a lot of sugar, like 39 grams in a regular Coke or 44 grams in an orange Fanta. OLIPOP flips that script with just a fraction of the sugar. No artificial sweeteners and gut-friendly ingredients like Ollie Smart, a blend shown to support digestive and overall health. It's soda that tastes like the real thing, but actually does something good for your body. I love the classic root beer. I'm a big root beer guy, guys, and trust me, when I had that first sip, it felt amazing. It really didn't. I felt like it wasn't that much of an alternative. Like I felt like, hey, this is something I can drink. I can drop down Pepsi, and I was a big Pepsi kid growing up. A lot of sugar. I realized an alternative like OLIPOP could definitely help with my sugar cravings, and it's been great. Again, I think, in my opinion, root beer there's a lot of flavors. Grape, classic soda, root beer. I think root beer is the best. So just get a free can of OLIPOP. Just buy any 2 cans in store and then reimburse you for 1. Head to drinkolipop.com/lockedonnba to claim your free can and find OLIPOP near you. That's drinkolipop.com/lockedonnba. Stuff is good, Ben. I'm telling you. Welcome back to Locked On Wizards. I'm Abdullah Ayubi here with Ben Strober talking about our beloved Wiz kids. And now, Ben, I bring up the fact big threes. We saw in Miami LeBron James, D Wade, Chris Bosh. We saw with the Warriors. 2017 with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. It wasn't even that was a big 4, just super team. The whole super teams in general for me, and this is why I want to talk about it because this transitions to the Wizards. Look at the Thunder. Look at the Pacers right now in the finals. 2 teams that they have and superstars in Tyrese Halliburton and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but you really don't have any big threes. So this goes back to the Wizards saying that, hey, develop young talents and find their roles. Do you think big threes and just super teams in general are overrated in today's NBA? Oh, you're muted, Ben. My bad.
Oh, my bad. I think there's more parity in the NBA than we've seen in such a long time. And we have an NBA Finals right now where it's Oklahoma City and Indiana in it, and everyone screams the ratings are going to be terrible. Nobody wants to see this. I love to see this because for so many years we get Cavs Warriors in the NBA Finals, and the Cavs never even had a super team. They had LeBron. He is a superhuman, to say the least. That's what I have to say about LeBron James right now. But the Warriors, absolutely a super team. The Heat, back when LeBron was there, you could classify that as a super team. But we're seeing from these teams that are now making runs in the postseason in the NBA in this new era of parity, it's about depth. It's not about having 3 superstars that carry the weight. Look what we saw from Benedict Mathurin yesterday. A guy that wasn't even playing significant minutes in the previous series, and then he comes on the scene here in the NBA Finals, and wow, he turns up for maybe one of the best games of his entire NBA career on the biggest stage. He puts up 27 points coming off the bench for Indiana, and there's been so much bench production throughout this series. Aaron Wiggins, a former Terp, who dropped 18 the other day. Alex Caruso, who had 20 off the bench.
Ben, the former Wizard.
Thomas Bryant, another key piece off the bench, who now is a 3-point shooter, evidently. But That's just my point right here, is that the more depth you have, the more guys you can stack on your team, not even necessarily just having one superstar. I think every team needs one or two superstars, at least one superstar player, to kind of be the transcending talent that is able to get your team over the hump. But if you can pair that alongside just a ton of other talented, serviceable role players, people that are able to do what they do best. I mean, think about TJ right now on Indiana. Yesterday off the bench, 5 steals in 15 minutes.
Insane.
It doesn't even make any sense. But that's why Indiana won that basketball game. That's why Indiana's in the driver's seat right now to potentially win its first NBA Finals. Depth is everything. And I think we're entering an era where we're not seeing super teams built as much, and I love it. And I really hope that's what we're building here in Washington.
Yeah, again, this goes back to the whole defense's effort. And clearly, TJ McConnell, he goes out there, picks up 94 feet. Not the biggest guy on the court, not the most skilled guy on the court, but it goes to show that what we need is to replicate that here in Washington, that emphasize that defensively we need to get better. And going back to super teams and big threes, we saw it with the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, remember that video of Kyrie, KD, James Harden shooting in practice? Everyone thought the league was over. That didn't turn out well. I mean, I get the whole Kevin Durant having a big foot, that 3, losing the Milwaukee Bucks in overtime. Also, the Suns, I mean, that was a big 3 that people were saying. And it's just, there's only so much superpower you can put into 1, 2, or 3 guys. You have to be able to distribute the sugar, as I like to say. You got to have guys that play their role effectively. And that's clearly what we've seen in OKC and Indiana. And the great thing is, I'll go back to it, Will Dawkins was a big part of that success going up to their finals run. And right now in OKC, he has the blueprint. And I think he's trying to emulate that blueprint here in Washington.
It's so interesting because for so many years, I almost make the comparison right here to baseball. And I know a lot of our listeners maybe don't even care about baseball. But the way the NBA has molded and shaped, and what we're seeing from the teams that are making runs to the NBA Finals at this point, is that the sport is becoming less star-driven than it used to be. I'm not saying it's not star-driven like baseball. I think baseball is a sport where superstar players don't even necessarily matter. I mean, think about the 2019 Nationals team. Juan Soto was only in his second year. He was really the only realistic superstar player on that team. Just a bunch of really good, solid players, young players, and veterans. But we're almost seeing that in the NBA right now because one team or each team will have at least 1 or 2 superstar players, but you pair that alongside depth and people that play really well within their roles. And like you said, the sugar is distributed around and everyone is on the same page as a team, playing great team defense, sharing the ball well offensively, getting good looks. Not seeing one person just dominate possession of the basketball. That's more what we're seeing from the NBA the past couple of years, which is a complete shift. I think that's why we're entering such a prosperous era of NBA basketball because there's so much talent to go around that we're not even seeing this like whole super team, madness being built by teams around the NBA. There's so much parity, and I think the Wizards are going to be one of these teams to try to emulate what other teams have built.
Yeah, and that starts with pick 6, pick 18, hopefully getting that top 8 pick in 2026 to land one of those guys that I mentioned earlier. So if you're the Wizards, man, you have to consider it's not that much splashing on. I mean, we saw in the past Ernie Grunfeld, Tommy Shepard overpaying for guys that just giving guys like Jan Mahimi a boatload of money and then not producing out there on the court. That's what the difference is in Will Dawkins. He brings in veterans that actually contribute and doesn't overpay them. And I know we talk about Corey Kispert and all and how he could be on the trade block, but even giving him that extension, it was still a team-friendly contract. Justin Champagnie, a very friendly contract, giving him a two-way, going from a two-way to an actual NBA contract, and he's contributes meaningful minutes. So the whole idea of just superstars, super teams, big threes, it's just unnecessary, and we clearly see that in today's NBA. And if you're the Wizards, I can't wait till they build this team and figure out how all these young guys will contribute, and they're all going to contribute in meaningful ways, and everyone's going to find their role. And a guy that I'm looking forward to is AJ Johnson. I think he's a guy that's just not being talked about enough. I saw videos of him saying, people on X saying, how the heck did the Wizards get this guy? Look at his highlight clip for just these limited minutes that he's been getting. And on top of that, you have a guy in Jordan Poole who I think can be an all-star. And I'm saying this if he's not traded. If he's traded, you hope you get a lot of draft capital in return. A guy in Bub Carrington who 19, 20 years old, just so freaking young, is a dog. And Alex Sarr, a guy who we think can be a top 5, top 7 center in this league. it's just going to take some time, and it's going to be exciting.
Couldn't agree with you more. You hit it on the head right there, Abdullah.
Yes, sir. Great minds think alike, as they say, Ben. But like I mentioned, big threes. Let us know your guys' thoughts in the comment section. Is it overrated? I mean, we clearly saw the recent big three in Phoenix. They're falling apart as we speak, guys. But now we go back to the talk of the past couple of days. JP 13, is he eventually going to be moved on from Washington? We know, you guys know that we don't want that to happen, but the rumors have been speculating and it's been heating up. But before we do, a quick word from FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have way more ways than ever to play smart and win big. The NBA Finals are underway. The Pacers are up 2-1, and the MVP SGA has been on fire recently. And you can look at Tyrese Halliburton, who's a playoff riser and shows up during crunch time. Find out who you like, place the prop bet, and win. You can combine live prop bets mid-game while watching, and then you start to see the trend on who's going to step up. Why not back it with the same game parlay and pick two players in the same game to have great games? New to FanDuel? It's a perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 on bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On Wizards. I'm Abdullah Ayubi here with my good friend Ben Strober. Talking about JP13, Ben. We've been emphasizing that we don't want the pool party to end. We wanted to keep going, but there's been a lot. These rumors are starting to heat up, and there's ideas of getting 2 first-round picks in return. A lot of Wizards fans are saying that if we don't get 2 first-round picks in return for a guy in JP13's talent, we shouldn't do the trade. Let me know your thoughts, Ben.
Well, so everyone that commented, and we appreciate everyone that weighed in on this subject because it's such great discourse, and it's really interesting to see how Wizards fans feel about this situation. All the comments that are in favor of trading Jordan Poole is saying, you guys are crazy. You're not getting 2 first-round picks for Jordan Poole. Like, we're valuing him too high. We're falling in love with him, kind of like how we did with Bradley Beal. I have a couple of thoughts on that, but first what I'll say is, as a fan, you're right. You're right that the Wizards probably are not going to get 2 first-round picks for Jordan Poole. That is probably too high of value. However, that's just what a lot of people have determined what they think he's worth. Whether we are overvaluing him at this point, and maybe it would be a mistake to hold on to him for too long if the offer is right. However, I'm under the impression right now that it's not my call. You know, I have my thoughts, and Abdullah, you and I, we both like Jordan Poole. We like to see him. We think he could be a pivotal piece here, but the one thing that I love so much about this front office is that there's direction and that you have a sense that you know where this franchise is heading. And if that means that Jordan Poole has to find his way out the door because that's what Will Dawkins and Michael Winger decided is best for the organization, I'm accepting of it. I'm not going to complain about it. And I'm not going to sit here, mope, and whine. That's just how it is. How, for the people that bring up the situation with Bradley Beal, how we're falling in love with Jordan Poole like we did Bradley Beal. I think that's a lot of you guys listening right now that are trying to say that you've learned your lesson because you were in love with Bradley Beal and you were enamored by the idea of giving him the Supermax contract. I never was on that boat. I actually liked Jordan Poole as a player better than I did Bradley Beal at the time. I think Bradley Beal severely lacked a clutch gene when he was here in Washington. There were a lot of games where he turned the ball over late in games, dribbling the ball off his foot. I don't know why that was such a common thing, but it was here in D.C., dribbling the ball off his foot in big possessions. And I'm not trying to make this a Bradley Beal hate rant here by any means. I just was never a fan of the contract. I didn't really think he was worth it at the time, and then they put the no-trade clause on top of it, which topped all of that off.
That was the cherry on top, Ben.
Yeah, but just to finish up the thoughts right here, I am good with what this front office decides to do. I don't want anyone who's listening to think that I think I know everything and I'm the GM. I'm here to weigh in on my opinions. I like Jordan Poole. I think he could be a point guard on a championship-level team. Is that going to happen in Washington? That remains to be seen. There's a lot of speculation that he does get traded. I mean, but that's why it's exciting right now because, we have the opportunity to talk about things like this. There are people that care, and I'm glad that our audience cares so much about the future of this franchise because it has been rough for so many years now. But we have the most loyal fan base possible, and that's why we appreciate all of you that listen.
Yeah, man. Ben couldn't have said it better enough. Wizards fans, we deserve it. But also one thing that we have to realize is the P word, patience. Any of you, whoever's listening to this right now, whether you're a JP13 fan or not, you have to accept the moves that Will Dawkins will be making because at the end of the day, he's shown us why he's way better than previous regimes, and you've seen the progress. So I'm starting to accept the fact that we are going to trade him. I don't know if it might be after the draft, but even if come draft night, because again, we saw last year with trading Denny Avdia, and a lot of fans were upset about that. But now with the emergence of Bob Carrington and how he could be a future all-star point guard here in DC, people are forgetting about Denny Avdia. And there's probably some Denny Avdia stands who are still attached to him, but at the end of the day, those fans are people are going to be attached to whatever. Going back to Bradley Beal, I mean, I don't think anyone was a fan of that contract. No trade clause, that is absurd. And now look how his career has fallen off in Phoenix. I mean, let's speak facts right now. He hasn't been playing good, and I think they want to move on from him. And you get some draft capital, those pick swaps, and on top of that, you get Jordan Poole, who even if you move on from Jordan Poole, you'll get draft capital in exchange. That draft capital was for Bradley Beal if you put transitive property. So if you're the Wizards right now, and Wizards fans have to realize that Will Dawkins knows what he's doing. He's general manager for the reason. The general manager, he was a big part of OKC for 15 years, and I think he's trying to emulate that plan here in DC. And we'll just have to see this upcoming year. We have to see progress defensively, not getting killed in the paint, not getting killed in the paint every night. Individual performances in Bilal Coulibaly, hitting that year 3 stride offensively. Want to see a more aggressive Alex Sarr, and it all starts with that. So if JP13 moves on, and that's Will Dawkins, and that's the best move, let's do it.
Yeah, I think we'll have to save for another episode at some point the idea of Washington bringing in a shooting coach because that's something that's been flirted around a little bit over the past couple of weeks. Just read a Washington Post story recently detailing maybe Will Dawkins' thoughts on that. That'll be really interesting to bring up, but I think you hit it there perfectly about patience with this Wizards team. And that's why this whole episode is that, do we really see it as a conundrum that the Wizards are going to be in? I don't really think so because I don't think they're going to be talented enough anyway to win that many games where it is going to be a problem. But, you kind of have to put that on the back burner, that top 8 protected pick is something that this front office likely would be thinking about at this point. But if the players are developing and they're playing so well that they win 35 games somehow by some miracle, hey, I'm all for it.
Then you're ahead of schedule at that point.
Yeah, that would mean you're ahead of schedule by a long shot because even Will Dawkins said in his exit interviews, he said, we're getting closer, but we're not close yet. So maybe they'll prove him wrong. We'll have to see. It's all going to depend what happens after this draft.
I was going to say, Ben, you brought up shooting coaches. I say you hit a lethal shooter. I mean, that man does like so many side quests.
Well, he's always in the DMV.
Yeah, he's from the DMV. Big Wizards fan too. I always see him commenting on Wizards posts. But I agree, man. This for us Wizards fans, if the team wins 30+ games upcoming year, you're going to be excited. You might not get that draft pick, but hey, like that's progress from 15 to 18 to now 30+.
Yeah, it's funny. Lethal Shooter comes into Lido Pizza in College Park all the time, and when I was working there in college, I served his table a couple of times. I should have put out the pitch. So, Wizards fan, that's my bad. I should have put out the pitch for him to be the shooting coach, but maybe they'll hit him up.
You know who to blame if a Wizards player misses a wide open three. You blame Ben Strober here. But yeah, guys, let us know. We're wrapping up this episode right here, Locked On Wizards. Let us know your thoughts on the pick 8, a top 8 pick potentially next year. Are the Wizards in a conundrum to potentially incentivize to lose more than win games? But also, does that affect team chemistry and overall development of these young guys? Do you think the idea of big threes, superstar teams are overrated in today's NBA? And JB13, I mean, it's been heating up the rumors. Whether you like him or not, do you think it's best in the Wizards' sake and JP13's NBA career sake for both parties to move on? And what do you get in draft capital? Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NBA Big Board Show. NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Abdullah Ayubi. That's Ben Strober. We are signing out. Hail to the Wizards.